you're very judgmental against. I was a judgmental person because I'm harboring all this crap inside. How could I be a loving person when I didn't love myself?
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
Dude, you've become a fat fuck.
Wow.
That's from my lawyer. I go, hey, you don't know what I'm facing here, man.
It's all stress.
Yeah. So
did you tell him the glass puts on 60 pounds?
Yeah. So and I hadn't been able to work out. I severed all the ligaments and tendons to this hand in the revenge attack against my abuser. I put a knife right through it. And they actually brought in a physical therapist to work with me to get some, movement back in it. And he cleared me, like whatever it was, 7 months in, like you can start, working out. Mentally, I wasn't ready to work out yet. So at the end of that year, I'm like, all right, I got to start turning this around. And I began working out, and I began reading self-help books and inspirational books and reading the Bible and getting faith. And, I transformed my life.
Well, one question I have for you, though, just going back a little bit. Did any of his other victims reach out to you?
Yeah, I've had other victims who didn't come forward reach out to me and just be like, dude, I feel your pain.
I
owe you an apology, but I just figured he was dead and gone, and I couldn't come forward.
Yeah.
In total, how many victims do they surmise?
My buddy's wife is the sheriff's secretary, and she sat in on all the meetings on Dennis Pegg. And she said to me his victim count has to be well over 100.
Wow. Holy Christ.
I had a guy years ago on Facebook reach out to me privately. He didn't want to become friends. He goes, I'm not sending you a friend request. Please don't send me one. He goes, but in 1970, High Point State Park had camps. And he goes, my camp counselor was Dennis Pegg.
Wow.
I didn't even know they had camps. And I didn't know he was a camp counselor. So this goes back to 1970 at least, where he was starting. And this guy said, Dennis took quite a liking in me, and you can guess what happened.
You can surmise what happened from there.
And he, obviously by not wanting to be friends on Facebook, he's still wrapped up tight by what happened,
And God, I wish they would live by your example.
Yeah.
Because think about how much better your life has come that you've accepted all this stuff and forgave yourself, because that's why I wanted to bring you in here.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring you in here because the hardest person, I don't know how, you and I have had private conversations about this, is there's certain things in my past that I just cannot get through, and I can't, like, the guy who shot at me, I can forgive him. Okay, I really can. And wholeheartedly, I hold no animosity towards him whatsoever, but there's certain things in my past that I cannot forgive. And you've somehow been a voice of reason for me, because you've taught me that you forgave yourself first and foremost.
Yeah.
This wasn't your fault.
Right.
I hate to be Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting. It's not your fault.
Right.
But that's the truth.
Yeah. And people reach out to me all the time, like, do I have to forgive my abuser? And I'm like, absolutely not. Forgiveness is for yourself. When you've experienced immense trauma, you start going off the rails and you start destructing, and that just heaps more shame and blame on you from the way you're living your life. You're just trying to keep your head above water. So if you're doing drugs or prostituting yourself or whatever you're doing just to stay alive, so be it. You've experienced something horrible.
That's his big problem. He prostitutes himself.
So he's bearing his soul, and you're making fucking jokes.
You just became Mike.
It's called role reversal. It's a common podcast technique.
You want to sit here?
So I know when you go out and tell your story, not everybody is in the Clark Fredericks fan club. You ever get blowback?
Well, like I mentioned that post I boosted, that's, and I've gotten that, like on a podcast, you'll have 10,000 comments, 9,998 are great, and then 2 are like, you murdered somebody. I can't get past that. You know? You took the law into your own hands. I can't get past that.
But if it happened to them,
right? I mean, that's you know, when you've had a lot of trauma, and you're still harboring that, you know, you're very judgmental against. I was a judgmental person because I'm harboring all this crap inside. How could I be a loving person when I didn't love myself?
Right.
You know, it took me a while to be able to love myself. So I was a judgmental person. So it's just like Mike said, you know, they haven't walked in your shoes, and yet they want to judge, you know, and it's just, it gets frustrating. Like, dude, like, did you not just hear the trail of destruction of just how I started the show? Like, go eat poison mushrooms then at age 4 and move forward with all the crap I had to do. And you know, it's, you know, look, you're not going to win everybody over. I understand that. But does it bug me? I got to be honest with you, it does.
It's funny though, like when people say, well, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you either then. You know, if you don't agree with me, I don't agree with you.
But it's
if you can't see my point of view, then there's no need for you to be in my life.
Out of 10,000 comments, it's those 3 or 4 that seem to stick with you, not the other 9,997 that are great and supportive of you. And I think that's the way most people live their lives.
And I've tried to like have a dialogue with people who like, I have no problem. I'll go back and forth with you. But when I confront them, like, all right, so what's the problem here? Well, what don't you like? What can't you get past? And then it's crickets.
Well, but a lot of times people in that position, what you did is irrational because you've had a life of chaos. So they're trying to rationalize an irrational behavior. You weren't thinking clearly at that time, and if you were, you'd still be in prison. All right? You were thinking very unclear, and they're trying to put their mindset, their rational or quote-unquote rational mindset, onto an irrational behavior. You can't do that. It's not normal what you did. But once you hear the backstory to it, you're like, okay, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, you know, when somebody goes, well, you murdered and I can't get past it. It's like, all right, dude, that's fine. The ones that really get me, I just like, I want to like reach through my phone and just be like, is when they say, well, I would have gone to my father immediately had this happened to me at age 10 to 12. Yeah. I would have told blah, 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 blah. You're a grown adult who's never been through this, and you know exactly how the 10-year-old you, who just got anally raped by a monster, you know how you're going to respond. Are you friggin' kidding me?
I thought we were going to have another moment where my foot goes on the floor.
I'm starting to. I need more EMDR therapy sessions.
We're going to put EMDR back here. The lights are going to come. You're going to get the handles. But EMDR is a wonderful treatment in trying to reorganize that pain that you feel from that stuff, because I'm sure it still triggers you. You know, I hate to use that word, but unfortunately, it's apt in this case. When you go out and speak, is there anything is it still brings you back it's real difficult to talk about it again?
Like when I was in studio here, you know, like when I relive the rape, you know, like a grown man, a lieutenant,
supposed to be a man of respect,
pillar of society, is raping a 12-year-old who's screaming and crying, and he just whispers in your ear, just another minute, so that he can make sure he, you know, fulfills his fantasies.
And then he beats up his dog after that.
And then beats his dog unconscious in front of him.
Do you know that particular where he beat the dog?
Yeah.
I got just as many comments. Here's a 12-year-old. I'm a big dog.
I know.
They'll all ask the same question. Did the dog live?
I have no idea.
Some kid just got anally raped here, but, you know, and listen, I feel bad for the dog. Don't get me wrong. I got a lot of sympathy for the dog. But everybody's asking me, did the dog live? Yeah. The dog's fine. Okay, the dog's 97 years old right now, but the dog's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the little kid crying in the corner right there. And that's the people care. People do care about animals more than people.
Yeah. You know, there's people that, you know, latch on. They have an easier time, you know, having a relationship with an animal than with humans. If the part's all right.
If the dog jumped up and bit Dennis's neck and ripped the jugular, people would say, "Oh, the dog did a great thing." You know?
Not you,
right?
And the dog accidentally put its own tooth through its own paw. Exactly.
And then put on a state police shirt when the cops came.
So clear the air for our audience right now. The dog did live. Correct?
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
Yeah,
So there you go. The jury's still out.
Yeah.
Ask Dennis Pig. Oh, yeah, that's right. He's burning in hell. So don't worry about that.
Yeah. You know, after, you know, he raped me at his house, and the next time I was in that house was the night I murdered him. You know, so that's a 32-year span, so I don't know.
The dog's not going to live that long anyway.
No, so I don't know.
I'm sure it wasn't the first time he beat that dog either.
No, you know. So,
now, you talked about something earlier where you don't always have to forgive your abuser. Being in the place that you are now, coming as far as you have from your former self, is there any forgiveness in your heart for Dennis Pegg?
nope. Not a bit.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast.
No, you know, I'm a born again Christian, and I've never had any of the pastors come to me and say, "Clark, to be a good Christian, you know, you need to forgive that. You need to utter those words." But I've had other Christians who like to think they're a better Christian than me say, you know, you really have to forgive Dennis Pegg, you know, to move on. You need to. Why?
You need to forgive yourself.
Who says I have to forgive Dennis Pegg? If not forgiving him is adversely affecting me, then we got a story there. But if I can have a healthy, loving, bright life and not forgive him, why do I need to say something just so somebody else can go to sleep that night feeling better? Oh, good. He forgives. He's a good Christian now.
Well, a lot of people will use Jesus as an example. He forgave his accusers, he forgave his executioners, and things of that nature. But I hate to tell you this, I don't know if this is going to be a news shock to you. You're not Jesus Christ. Okay, there's one of them. So it makes perfect sense why you wouldn't be able to, nor there's no obligation to forgive him, because he did this to so many different people. Think about how many lives this guy destroyed.
Right, and let's, you know, one of the things I was going to talk about, you know, since a year's passed, is, and I mentioned, like, when I went into court, I had to talk about my older brother, you know, with Dennis Pegg, and you know, he's sitting in the front row, and my older brother is now dead, and I feel that from the grave, Dennis Pegg snatched him, because my brother couldn't address what happened. He couldn't move on from what happened. And my brother self-destructed, you know, with alcohol. That did him in. You know, what I witnessed living with him, yeah. I was doing heroin, pain pills, cocaine, Xanax, bottles of vodka, smoking weed, Valiums, mushrooms, whatever I could get my hands on. And I got to say, I was in better shape than my brother was with alcohol. It was such insanity.
Well, do you feel responsible in any way?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, because
I opened up Pandora's box.
You outed him.
I outed him, and he spiraled from my arrest onward. You know.
Well, what do you think would have been your brother's savior if he's spiraling? You were spiraling too.
Yeah, but nobody was going to get me to talk about it either. Like, nobody knew. Nobody was going to force Clark to. I dated a girl for a few years, and we went to couples therapy. in couples therapy, she tells the therapist how she was abused as a child. Now you would think, wow, what a segue right into Clark. Come on, Clark, now you can air all your dirty laundry. And I'm just like,
is the hour over yet?
15 more minutes, boy. It wasn't going to come out. I wasn't ready. It would have been a perfect opportunity in that environment for me to but I sealed myself shut at 12 when my mind said, we are never, ever, ever going to talk about this. Talking about it's reliving it, and we're not going to relive it. And that was the worst thing my mind could have done to me,
So a lot of times people forget that you are in a much better place than you were, before Dennis's rightful death. But people have this misconception of people who go out and advocate like you do for victims of child sexual abuse, things like that you got it all together. And it's a huge mistake that people make. It really does. And people think that Mike and I, when we talk about how we overcame our trauma, that we don't still have our moments.
There's still nights I cry myself to sleep.
But that's because I won't give it up for you. Because we're in couples therapy too. But people think that you have it all together. And I want you to tell everybody, because we had a little bit of a discussion, you backslide sometimes too.
Yeah, man. Back in December, I hurt my shoulder lifting, so I lowered my weights. It was still killing me, and I just had to stop working out. And I'm going in, I'm doing the treadmill,
going through the motions
at 3.2 for 20 minutes, Yeah. And so that was December, and then February, I come home and I find my brother dead on the kitchen floor. I give him CPR until the paramedics get there. They work on him, and that just, like I said, you said, do you feel guilty at all? And I felt guilty. I still do, and that sent me spiraling. And then my 94-year-old mother, her mission in life was to keep my brother alive. And that mission came to a screeching halt. So she fell into a deep depression. So I'm coming home cooking these big meals for her, just trying to lift her spirits, And I mentally couldn't go to the gym. I just wasn't into it. I'm working, and then I'm going home to cook these meals and just eat with her and talk to her and try to cheer her up. And, so it was 6 months of backsliding. And I looked at myself in the mirror in May of this year. And just like my lawyer said to me, I was like, holy hell, you fat fuck. You did it to yourself again.
Well, I'm going to surprise you because I think we got a picture. Andrew, why don't you put that picture up of Clark's inevitable backslide down the rabbit hole. But that's how you pick yourself up, because you have to remember what it was like. Because we have very short-term memories. You're in good. Last time you were in here, you were in awesome shape. You were. Oh, look at that! There it is. Look at that.
So there's the before picture 6 months ago. So I went on a tear. I started doing burpees again. And I could barely do 30 burpees when I started, winded, dying. I'm doing them in my driveway because I didn't want to do them at the gym.
You didn't want anybody to see you.
No, I didn't want anybody to see me. But I was determined, to just do them and stick with it. And, now I bang out 300 at a clip instead of 30. And so 6 months later on the right, you see, how I turned it around, and... I reeled myself. Where would the backsliding? How far would it have gone if I didn't reel it in? I have a foundation. I start my day, with wins every day.
I saw your mirror, so you do your accountability mirror.
Yeah, so the people without a foundation, the people who don't have a routine that they do every morning, they don't start with wins. They're the ones who could backslide all the way back.
Keep sliding.
Drugs, alcohol, yada yada yada.
Did you ever think during your backslide time?
No.
Get a little drink?
No.
Well, that's good. That's a positive thing. That's a win.
Yeah. No. It never. entered.
Well, you can't build anything on a broken foundation. You can build the most beautiful house in the world. The foundation shit, it's going to come to the ground.
Right.
Yeah. So you start your day with wins now. Like, give us a win for an example. What's your win today? Coming to the Suffering Podcast, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah. I get up early. I get up usually 4:30.
Rise before your enemy.
Back in May, I pushed my clock all the way till getting up after 6:30, and then just having time to woof some eggs down quick and get to work by 8. So now I get up early. I heard Troy Aikman on a podcast talk about this guy Wim Hof. I was doing.
Oh yeah. I know Wim Hof very well.
Yeah. So I've been doing his deep breathing meditation. You want to call it a meditation? I don't know if it's really a meditation, but it's deep breathing and breath hold. It takes like 11 minutes in the morning.
So read more about Wim Hof. He's an anomaly. First of all, he's a physical anomaly.
Yeah.
But through his breathing, I think he ran a marathon in just shorts, like a full marathon in like 20-degree weather.
Really?
Yeah, because he's able to control his breath.
Yeah. And that's helped me doing 300 burpees at 58 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a spring chicken anymore. So I do that every morning. I eat healthy. It's not like I'm getting up and eating muffins and bagels and so it's just eggs and chicken sausage. I pray every morning. Long stint of prayer. Just gratitude for another day. Happy to be alive. Grateful to be alive. My life could have been over so many times. I could be sitting in a prison. Still. Wasting away. Yeah. And I'm just grateful.
It could be something as simple as, hey, you know what? I got enough to make my car payment today.
Yeah.
Something very simple.
Yeah. So that's how I start off. It's just get up early. That's win number 1. Pray. Win number 2. Deep breathing with Wim Hof. Win number 3. Healthy breakfast. Win number 4. So you set the tone for your day, and then I hit the gym after work every day.
I got another book for you to read. So it's a book by a guy named James Nestor called Breathe.
Never heard of it.
Oh, you got to this is an amazing book. It'll show you that we most as a species in modern society breathe wrong. I'll give you an example. Like my teeth are all jacked up, and I've been a mouth breather my entire life because I broke my nose so many times.
Yeah, me too.
So you would think, go back 700-800 years ago, 1,000 years ago, you would think they don't have dentists, so their teeth are going to be all messed up. Nope. Their teeth are perfect because mouth breathing messes up your palate and it shifts your teeth. So something as simple as that. And then there's sinus infections, and then our allergy counts are going up because we're more allergic because we're mouth breathing. If we nose breathe, it humidifies the air, it filters the air, it gets to your body in the right temperature. Breathe by James Nestor. It'll change the way you think, especially if you're a Wim Hof guy.
Yeah.
And they talk about Wim Hof in there as well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. That's one of those books where you read over and over again.
Right.
Yeah.
And this episode is brought to you by Breathe by
James Nestor. So you got a lot of stuff. You got a lot of irons in the fire right now.